All right, folks, I think we're about ready to get started here. Good afternoon. My name is Mike. I am one of the founders of FlowTrade. Thank you all for coming to our webinar. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about FlowTrade, about our platform, what it offers you, and how it can help you with your trading. So, well, let's start with what is FlowTrade? Well, first of all, let me tell you what FlowTrade isn't. We are not some sort of chat group that has some guru that just spits out a bunch of trades that people can take blindly. That's not us at all. If that's what you're looking for, you've really come to the wrong place. No, FlowTrade started as a community of traders with a common goal. Like every trader, we wanted to trade effectively and efficiently. We recognize that market makers and institutional investors make up about 80% of stock ownership. And so understanding what they are doing is key to understanding how stocks will move because they control the market. So with some time and research, we developed what we called the Flow Index. So with that, let's talk about the Flow Index and we'll explain what it is and how we use it. So the Flow Index is a FlowTrade proprietary system, and it tracks the big money computers, institutions, dark pools, and it does this in real time. We filter through exchange data to separate their trades from the rest of the market. And this gives us the ability to trade alongside of the smart money instead of going against it. We realize that your standard charting platforms like TradingView or TOS, whatever you happen to be using, they don't offer all the data that's available from the exchanges. FlowTrade receives the full feed of exchange data from the New York Stock Exchange, ARCA, and NASDAQ. We are literally drinking from a fire hose when it comes to information. It's over about 15,000 tickers. So just as a side note, we currently don't cover futures, Forex, or other exchanges. We don't do cryptocurrency, though we will be doing futures in the future. So how do we use this information? There are really three specific types of setups that we use. We'll talk about divergence, we will talk about continuation, we will talk about confirmation. Actually, there are two types of divergences that we're going to talk about, but you'll see them as we get to them. Okay, so let's do a little bit of explanation here. What we're looking at is a standard chart of the Flow Index. So the blue line that you're seeing, that's standard 1-minute price candles. I know most people wouldn't trade on 1 minute, but I'm using this just for the information that's available. And then the white line that you're seeing is the Flow Index. So what that's telling us is the direction that the market makers and institutional investors want the stock to go. I should mention that this line, even though it's on the same chart with the price, it's not on the same scale as the price. So if the lines happen to touch or if they cross or anything, that's complete coincidence and insignificant. What we're really looking for here is the direction of movement. Is the Flow Index trending in the same direction as the price, or are they going in opposite directions? So generally, when things are moving with what the market makers, institutional investors want to do, like you're seeing here, you will see that, that they move in the same direction. You will get areas where price starts to, say, pull back up. In this case, we're trending downwards. So you will get some areas where you get a little bit of a pullback and price comes back up slightly. And generally, it comes to some sort of resistance zone. But you'll notice that through the whole thing, the Flow Index keeps going down. It keeps showing that market makers, even though the price is coming up a bit, that's not really the direction they want it to go. They are trying to push this down further. So that's the general information that we're getting here. So let's zero in on that and talk a little bit about divergence itself and understand what we're really looking for and how we use it. So here's another chart showing you INTU, and we're zoomed in a little bit more so we could see the information. Note that at the start of the day, I guess this was Friday, July 31st, at the start of the day, both the price and the Flow Algo Index start by kind of running up a little bit. And then by about 10 o'clock, the price starts coming back down. In that space, notice that the flow algo index keeps going up. What's really happening here is that overall, the market makers still want to bring the price up, and they're taking advantage of any selling to buy into that position, build up their position, as it were. Because like I said, their intention is to keep this market moving upwards. So the red line that you see there points out where that divergence starts. And that's generally what we're looking for, is that point of divergence, because with a high degree of probability, the price is going to come back to that zone. Now, does it mean that we immediately start taking a trade? No. What you want is to find, couple this with whatever strategy you're using for, support zones. Maybe you've got supply and demand zones that you've got. It works with if you use Bollinger Bands, or if you're a technical trader that uses trend lines, historical levels, Fibonacci levels, whatever you happen to be using to show areas of support and resistance, the flow index is going to help you pinpoint the ones that are going to be accurate with a high degree of probability. So in this case, we get the price hit some sort of support zone and does come back up into that area. And you see that we get back up to that point where that divergence started. Now, it doesn't mean that price is going to stop there for sure. We are going to talk about continuation in a moment, but in this case, it did stop there and it came back down. But again, you can see that the flow algo index showed the market makers are still putting pressure upwards, and they are buying into this selling so that they can run this up further. And sure enough, later on by the end of the day, we did get back up to those areas and in fact continued up higher, which is really what they were after in the first place. So here's another example using BA. And I just want to show this example because I just wanted to point out that all the activity we just talked about, price coming down to a support level, it also works the other way, where when price is moving down and suddenly the price comes back up, but the flow algo index shows that the market makers are actually still trying to bring this down. So as the price is moving up, they are selling into that buying, basically taking profit before the price ends up coming down further. And you see a couple of points where we did that. I guess this was on the 31st as well. So again, we're not necessarily looking at, like, once we see this divergence start, we're not necessarily looking at taking trades right away. We're looking for areas of resistance in this case that the price is going to get back up to, whether that's, again, any trend lines that you have, or historical levels, Fibonacci levels, moving averages, whatever. The point I guess I'm trying to make is that whatever current strategy you're using, the flow index can be used with that. So we get this movement down, we get another entry, and of course the price continued down on that day as well. So this is obviously intraday stuff, and for a lot of people here, you may not be the type of person that can get into day trading. Maybe this doesn't fit your trading style or your risk tolerance, or your lifestyle for that matter. So it's worth pointing out that what I'm showing you here on these smaller time frames can actually be done on larger time frames as well. So if you're into swing trades or longer investments, you can also use the flow index to help you with those. So let me show you that with a slightly different type of divergence we call trend divergence. The difference here is that trend divergence looks at a total trend, not just the immediate movement of price where the two of them separate and diverge away from each other. Trend divergence works over multiple waves and generally over multiple days, sometimes multiple weeks. But here's an example of XLE. And in this case, you can see that the price was trending down for a few days until it got down to the support area. But we had early notification that the market makers were actually buying into this selling, with the intention of filling up their position before they start bringing the price back up. And really what they do is they average down. Keep in mind, as a market maker, especially with big moves, they may have millions or hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars in some cases that they want to put into a particular stock. If they do that with one big block trade, they're going to artificially pump that price up before they can fill the position that they want it to fill. They're going to bring that price up. And in fact, they may end up buying. And then when the buying pressure stops, that price comes back down. It really works against what they're trying to do. So instead, when they're ready to fill a position, we can see that they are slowly buying into the selling, enough that they can get their position filled, but not so much that they start affecting the movement of the price. And it's not until they get to that area of support that they wanted the price to get to that they really start moving things in the other direction. Now they're full, they've got the price coming up. And since they've averaged that price as it comes down, it very quickly becomes profit. And then as the price keeps moving up, it becomes big profit. This type of divergence is really probably my favorite type. As much as I do day trade, there's a much more relaxing mindset to doing these, because these are trades that you take and then you kind of don't have to watch the charts all day long. You can swing them for a couple of days. And if you're familiar with that type of trading, you know what I'm talking about. I can tell you personally, I get together with a group of people. We actually just did one of these today where we run scans. And remember, we've got about 15,000 tickers across these exchanges that we're looking at. We run scans where we find major areas of support and resistance. And within those areas of support and resistance, we track them all, different time frames and scales. That will generally give us a list of maybe 400 to 600 tickers. Now, already we filter things down pretty good, but we don't want just possibilities. We want higher probability trades. So now we get together as a group and we'll take that list and we will break it down into a smaller set, and everybody sort of takes a piece. And what we then do is we will do a comparison between that list against the Flow Algo Index, where we are looking for this very type of trend divergence that you're seeing here, because that gives us a much higher probability that that price is approaching a support zone, or when we do it the other way, a resistance zone. And it makes it a much more higher probability trade. Anecdotally, I could tell you that last week I created a short watch list of 11 tickers, both bullish and bearish moves, and they actually, looking at what Dell did on Friday, all of them paid, all 11 of them. Not to say that I'm 100% accurate. Of course, like any trader, you always take some losses, but the probability is increased greatly when we pair these together with typical trading strategies. Okay, so that's the stuff around divergence. So let's talk a little bit about the continuation stuff that I mentioned earlier. So the concept of the continuation is just that when we get through an area where we have divergence set up, like we have here, this is a chart of SPY that I'm just looking at. And you can see that around 12:30, 12 to 12:30, we had some divergence start. And so we get a divergence play. But in this case, when we got back down to the area where the divergence played out, we could see that we had continued pressure from the market makers, from the institutional investors, as they continued to push to have the price come down. And so this is another area where I guess a couple of things can happen. One, if you're the type of person that gets into a trade and then gets fully out, this offers an opportunity for you to get back into a second trade to continue with the movement. If you're the type of person that likes to take partial profits at certain target zones, then this allows you to hold with a little more confidence to the rest of the move that you expected. And so this allows us to take advantage of further movement within the day, or like I said, if we use larger time frames, then through days or even weeks. And so I guess the other thing I should mention again is that the same concept works with whatever strategies you may be using. So the third way that we end up using this is with confirmation. And so confirmation is one of those areas where if you are looking at a trade and you're approaching a particular, let's say in this case, a support zone, whether it's a Fibonacci line or previous historical levels, all the stuff I've been mentioning through here. You know, if you're the type of trader that takes trades off of those moves, and then as it starts coming back up, you're wondering, you know, have I actually made the right call? Is this actually the support area I'm looking for, or is this just going to move a little bit sideways and then fall below my support area? What we look for is confirmation within the flow algo index here, where if you're seeing that the flow index is also making that change of direction, that change of trend at the same point, then it severely increases the probability that you've made the right call on that area of support. And this is what we're seeing here in this example with NVIDIA. We've got price coming down, we hit a support level, and as the price started coming back up, you see that the flow algo index also started making these same moves. So the same way in price, where you would look for things like higher highs and higher lows within the movement of price. If you can confirm higher highs and higher lows in the movement of the flow algo index, that confirms the movement that you're seeing. In fact, there are a lot of times where we see things going the other way, where you start to see higher highs on a particular stock that you're watching, but all of a sudden on the latest one, if I see a lower high on the flow algo index where we had a higher high on the price, a lot of times I will use that as an opportunity to start looking for a smaller pullback. You know, if you're the type of person that does day trading where you will play against the trend for a quick little pullback, I look for those opportunities all the time because, as I keep saying, it severely increases the probability of those plays maxing out. Okay, so before I continue with, I've got a couple of other things I want to talk about. Just to talk about the flow index itself, I just wanted to take a quick pause here and see if we've got any questions about it. Doesn't look like any major questions.
So far there's no questions so far. Everybody's understanding it pretty well so far, and I'll keep track of the chat and let you know.
Thanks, Fred. Appreciate the help. That's Fred, everybody. one of the other founders of FlowTrade. Fred is probably the king of the quick scalps. Okay, so if any questions, come up about this stuff, if you guys want to throw them into chat while we're going through this, and I'll continue on. Actually, Chris H is saying, what is the flow index measuring? So like I said before, what we are doing is we are going through all the data that's coming in through the stock exchanges, and we are filtering out what the specifically the trades that are being done by those institutional investors, market makers, that sort of thing. What we end up with is this line, and I can't really get into the details of what it's made up of, but what I can tell you is it represents, let's say, agreement within the market makers and institutional investors. So when you see a very, very strong line, what it's telling you is that there's a lot of agreement between all the market makers that that's the direction they want price to go. Not necessarily a demonstration of volume or momentum, but definitely solidarity within direction. And I guess for anybody new that had joined in, when we're looking at these charts, I had mentioned at the beginning, the white line here is the flow algo index itself, and the blue line is just the pricing candles. Will FlowTrade work?
There's another one on there about stocks.
Yeah, so will FlowTrade work with all stocks, including stocks from $1 and up? Yes, right now we have stocks that are only on, or we only have exchange data from New York Stock Exchange, ARCA, and NASDAQ. We'll also be reintroducing data from CBOE for options as well, but not from the perspective of the flow index, just to get options flow information. So the difference here, Chris, is where you're saying that there are other there are other indications of market makers' intent to buy or sell. Most of those are built around lagging indicators that you need price movement to detail it, or volume. And let's face it, the vast majority of indicators that you can get on standard platforms give you information that is strictly based on price movement and what those candle values are, the high, low, close, and open, or volume. And that's the majority of them all. The data that we're getting is getting us information of movements before they happen. And that's very, very key, because we are seeing, like I said, if you can watch as price is approaching a particular support level that you're not sure if that support level is going to hold, seeing the flow algo index showing that market makers have already started quietly buying into it really increases the probability that that is going to be where that trend direction changes. Keisha, like I said, we don't have futures data yet, and I can't comment yet on when it will be in. There's a lot of back-end contract work that has to happen to get us the data. Like I said, we're getting the stuff directly from exchanges, and so there's a lot of negotiation and compliance things that we need to get in place for that. So I can't speculate right now on exactly when that will happen. Let me just comb through really, really quickly. Oh, Emmanuel was saying, is the flow index a lagging indicator? No, it is not a lagging indicator. It is by far a leading indicator. This can be incorporated into any charting platform. Used side by side with any charting platform, yes. If you mean actually incorporated as an overlaid on top of it, not at this point. Definitely something we've discussed for the future, but it's not in our plans at the moment, if that's what you meant. Otherwise,
real
like
quick on
yeah, go ahead, Fred. Thanks.
on that comment, how you use it side by side, but there's also a feature on FlowTrade where you can pop a chart out. So sometimes, like if I'm playing SPY on TradingView, what I'll do is I'll pop out the SPY chart on FlowTrade, and you can just move it right over and post it up in the top left corner of your TradingView chart, or make it as big or small as you want. So actually, as you're watching the chart on TradingView, you have that little SPY pop out there, and then you just fill in on FlowTrade whatever ticker you want to take that thing. But you can pop as many of those little charts out as you want and put them right next to your charting system.
Yeah, and I think we have, I've seen a lot of people who do that sort of thing where they'll set it off to the side of the chart that they're working with. I mean, I use multiple screens, so I've got them all over the place. Okay, so then there was a question about a replay. So the replay of the webinar itself, if you didn't catch it from the beginning, it's actually also being broadcast on YouTube. So if you go to the FlowTrade YouTube page, which yeah, actually, I think if you just search for FlowTrade on YouTube, you will find it. And in there, once we're done, it will be republished so that you can watch it from the beginning if you need to. B. Bender said, you mentioned it's a leading indicator. How far in advance? There is actually no way of really telling. It's not like the market makers are saying, I'm going to start buying now exactly 3 days before the move happens, or exactly 2 minutes before the move happens. It really can't determine exactly how far in advance. It can only determine what they are doing. They make that decision of exactly when. I can see it keeping me in a trade, but would have to work with it for a while to see if there is any value to it, or my current system continue to work without it. Well, your current system will continue to work without it. And I will say, and I was going to save this to the end, but we're also offering a 1-week free trial. So anybody that wants to try it out, you're more than happy to join. But I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. Hassan said, what's the currency of this chart? Well, in this case, because it's NVIDIA, what you're seeing on the right-hand side is a dollar value. We don't actually offer a number value for the flow index because it's not really, it's not really something that's going to give you any data that you can use. Like I said, the important part about the flow index is understanding the direction of trend versus the direction of trend in the price. That's really where we get our information out of it. Can you do a replay demo of for a stock? There is a replay feature. So if you want to go through, if you want to look over the last day of trading and you want to actually play through it, we do have that replay feature for you to use. I know some people use it because they either want to review things or they want to just practice. So it allows you to do that. Have you seen any correlation between the indications of the flow index and the ratings price target changes by analysts? To be perfectly honest, I don't think any of us have really reviewed that type of information. There's a few areas like that where we have speculated that there might be some sort of correlation. I can tell you that we have definitely seen correlation between changes in the flow index and news events. But other things like, we've also questioned whether we'll start to see movement before earnings reports, as an example. But we haven't really done the research at that level yet. So I wouldn't want to lead anyone astray by saying yes or no to those questions. Are the real-time data feeds included with your subscription? Yes, the data that you get for the flow index is all real-time. What advantages does this have over VWAP and resistance and support pivot points? It's not that there would be an advantage over them. You would really want to use them in conjunction with. Sometimes VWAP doesn't end up being the support or resistance area. So if you're in that state and you want, you can't confirm 100% that just because you got to VWAP, price is going to stop there. So the flow algo index used with that would confirm whether that's going to be your area of rejection and whether the trend is going to change there or not. The same thing goes with pivot points or any other support resistance tools that you're using. Is this for day trading or does it follow daily, weekly timeframes? Right now, data is available up to the 15-minute time frame. The reality is that the data that we're collecting, when we're looking at what's going on with market makers, generally the decisions that they're going to be making are going to happen within a couple of days. So you really don't need anything beyond that time frame. You can see, let me go back a couple of screens. Here, even though this is a 15-minute time frame, you're still going to be able to get information over those longer time charts that you're using for investing or swings and stuff, just by using this time frame and still seeing that same divergence playing out just over longer periods. So manually, you're saying, can I do a replay as part of the webinar? I could go through and find things, but it wouldn't really be that advantageous, especially because I would end up just cherry picking something out of it. What I'll mention near the end is, again, if people want to partake in the free trial offer, definitely you can go through there and we can give plenty of examples. We have, the site actually has a video section where you can look at stuff like that. Either through us or if you're here through, if you got a link through one of our affiliates, either we or they can kind of walk through several examples and show you how this stuff works. And that would probably be your best way of getting real direct examples of these things. How does the flow index differ from on-balance volume index? Completely different stuff. Like I said, on-balance volume is a lagging indicator that tells you what price is doing overall. The flow index is telling you what market makers are doing before they start affecting the price of the stock. Jeremy had asked, I'm thinking that the flow index is similar to real-time volume, or is it different data? Absolutely different data. We are literally filtering out what the market makers and institutional investors are doing to determine their movements before it starts affecting the price. Mike said that he came in late. Will there be a recording of the seminar? Yes, this is also being broadcast on YouTube, and you can look up FlowTrade on YouTube and you'll be able to rewatch the full seminar there. Okay, so I am going to continue on, but if you guys have more questions, by all means, keep going. There's just a couple of other things that I want to get through as well. Oh, DB, you were saying, how long is the learning curve? I will tell you that the learning curve is pretty quick. We generally have people within a week fully understanding what stuff they can do, how to use the indicators. You keep saying filtering out institutions, etc. So you're only looking at the big firms' transactions. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, the institutional investors and market makers own 80% of the stock market. And so we as retail investors, we don't really have any effect on the price. On some high beta stocks, cult stocks like Tesla, used to be Apple, where the retail investment was a little more like a 40% ownership. There was more ability to for retail investors to have an effect on the stock price, but for the most part, we don't. We are like remora eels eating the little bits that the sharks leave behind. Now, those little bits can still add up to really good money for us, but because they are the ones that make the market move, we want to know what they're doing before they start really affecting the stock price. That's really what this comes down to. Okay, so I will continue on because there was just a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about. The next one is block trades and dark pool. So this is additional data that we also provide across all those same tickers, those exchanges. So we have the ability to follow block trades, and for people that are using those as areas of support and resistance, that becomes available. So we kind of do it in two formats. One is that if there's a particular stock that you like and that you're watching, we can have those block trades, as you see here. They are printed directly on the chart. Now, we kind of highlighted some of these to make them a little more visible, but essentially we have those there, and you can see, like in this case, how once we get through this level, they become very effective support levels once that's broken. It's a trading tool that a lot of people use, and so we wanted to include that. We have the ability to mark both big block trades as well as any dark pool trades that come through. We get the exchange direct from, we get the data direct from the exchanges. And so as soon as they are posted with the exchanges, we have that data available and we post them. Now, the other thing we could do is we have a page for block trades dark pool where you can actually do searches for them. So if you want to look at certain value levels, and if you want to search particular stocks to see what the latest block trade levels were, you have the ability to do all that here. So B Bender, you had asked, this looks like a great tool for scalping. How about swing trading? I actually mentioned this a couple of times earlier. We also use it for swing trading. I even talked about how I have a group of people that we get together and we do a whole big filter session on Saturdays. We just finished it before we did this session, where we go through, literally, we filter out over 15,000 stocks that we broke down. This week, we broke it down to about a short list of about 80 on the bullish side that I've still got to review. And then there are about 30 on the bearish side. Really coming down to much more high probability possible swing trades. The one off my short list from last week I had mentioned, I had 11 tickers that I said were on my short list last week, and all 11, well, Dell is actually technically still out to be determined, but 10 out of those 11 for sure were paying. Not that I'm always 100% accurate. And then the week before that, I think it was 8 out of 9 that I had on my short list paid. Very, very effective tool for swing trading. Could you expand a little bit on the dark pool? So if you're not familiar with dark pool, essentially there are dark pool exchanges where institutional investors and market makers can actually exchange shares without that information being put onto the open market. If you think about it from the point of view of an institutional investor, and you need to move a couple of $100 million worth of stock, and let's say it's not really an investment, but look at the job of the market makers. The job of the market maker is to always make sure that whatever your trade is going to be, there's someone available on the other side of that trade to take that trade. So if you have shares and you want to sell them, if nobody else wants to buy those shares, the market makers have to buy those shares. That's their job. Now, the one caveat to that is that they get to decide what price that happens at if no one else wants to sell or no one else wants to buy. And on the other side, if you want to buy shares, they always have to have shares that are available to you. So one of the things to use the dark pool for is if I'm a market maker and I have depleted a lot of my shares and I just need to build up my inventory so I can still sell, I may find another market maker and create a side deal and say, hey, look, I just need to buy up some of your shares so that I've got some inventory. Would you sell me some? And so they will do that type of exchange on the dark pool without all of those transactions coming up and showing people on the open market, because then if other people see a lot of buying happening, they may want to jump in and get in with it and try and ride it up. And that affects that price. And that's what they're trying to avoid. Now, there are a lot of people who say there are a lot of shady ways market makers could also use the dark pool. I don't disagree with that. And I'm not here to defend it in any way. I'm just saying that this is what a dark pool exchange is. Once that exchange happens, they have up to 24 trading hours to report that trade happened. So it will still show up on the regular exchanges, but they have up to 24 hours to report it. And that's really what dark pools are. But they do get reported as dark pools. So when it comes through on the charts, if you don't know it's a dark pool, you may get fooled into thinking there's something else going on, where if you can see it on a chart showing you that this is what it was, then that really helps you understand what's really going on. So that was probably a very, very long explanation for it. Does this group to limit the list public, or do you share the process you used to narrow down your list? It is a private group. There's no reason that other people couldn't. And I know that we do it within our group. We do have affiliates. So again, if you were brought here through an affiliate, we're going to be talking to them about the possibility of them doing similar things within their groups. I just don't want to step on any of their toes by saying or committing them to doing things that they may not be ready to commit to. Ken was asking, will this be recorded? Yes, check us out on YouTube. Look for FlowTrade on YouTube. You will find the full recording of this. So does that mean that you don't want to join in the dark pool trade? I can't say one way or another. All I could say is that dark pool is where big market makers and institutional investors have private sales between private sales of shares that don't get immediately reported on the market. Whether or not we would want to make decisions based on that, it really depends on the level that it happens at, what else is going on. It's not really a cut and dry question to immediately decide. Like I said, it may just be that they are doing that dark pool trade just so someone can replenish their inventory. Okay, so I think the dark pool stuff was about all we had to go through. And a couple of quick examples of this stuff going through, but it doesn't really say anything more than what we've already talked about. So yeah, that's pretty much what we had for the webinar. The only other thing that I said I would mention at the end is that we do offer a 1-week free trial. You can do that through us by looking us up with this contact information, or again, if you have come here through an affiliate, they have an affiliate link that you can use to take advantage of this free trial. The free trial is for 1 week, and then after that, you can decide whether you want to stay with us or not. I personally, I can't trade without this stuff now. I feel a little bit naked. So, I definitely use it. Jimmy had asked, is your dark pool reporting real time or delayed? It is real time from the perspective of the stock exchanges themselves. We can't see what happens on the dark pool itself, but the second that it is reported on the exchange, we make it available. Ram was saying, what is the cost? Our cost is $200 a month. There is, if you buy, there is a package for like a 6-month, 1-year package as well. And that gets you access to the site along with, like I said, the tools that we have for the block trade, the Flow Algo Index. We have a lot of videos on the site itself that also help you understand how we use this stuff. Lots of examples in there. Win rate depends on the people. I can tell you that it's high. I could show you a bunch of stats. They could or could not be completely made up or photoshopped. What I would recommend is take advantage of the 1-week free trial and then have people go through and show you trades live as they happen. I know we do that on a regular basis. Yeah, Bruce is talking. He's saying 79% win rate. Personally on my own personal day trades, when I scalp, I'm usually like a 6 out of 8 trades in a day kind of guy. Jim's saying, oh, I didn't even mention it. We also have Fly on the Wall, the news feed. We have the ticker as well as an API directly into their stuff so that you can look up specific stuff. Like if you want to get information about earnings reports or stock splits, evaluations, whether they're raising valuation or lowering valuation, all that stuff is available. It comes up as a ticker directly on it. But like I said, it's a direct API into Fly on the Wall, so we're getting it at the same time they're posting it. Whether it's better than Benzinga newsfeed or not, I can't really speculate on that. I kind of like both. But definitely the Fly on the Wall stuff is very good. That's part of my workflow every day. One of the things is to go into Fly on the Wall and sort of review any general news that pops up, but I also go through, everybody's got that short list of stocks that no matter what's going on, they're always watching it. So I tend to go through and look through all my favorites. I came from a tech background before I was trading full time. So, I kind of have a love for all the tech stocks. So I watch a lot of those and see what's going on before the market opens, news related stuff. Does it work with penny stocks and low cap stocks? Yes, it does. We do. What we have found is that data for any stocks that are under $1, generally we don't get good data. So the stuff that's under $1 will generally skip. And for the ones that are low cap, really low cap, sometimes you'll get a low liquidity warning, which kind of tells you that the data may not be great because there's not a lot of activity going on with those. The Flow Algo is computer-generated trades and dark pool is human trades. The reality is that probably now about 80% or higher of all trades on the market, no matter what they are computer-generated trades. Sorry, I just had to cough for a second. I need about Fed speak, etc. Oh, Jim, you were talking about the Fly on the Wall stuff. Yep, that information comes up in there. Fly on the Wall is usually pretty good at giving the updates for those things. I can actually very quickly, just got a little bit of time left and I want to make sure all the questions get answered, but let me pull up the actual platform really quick. Okay, so here's what the platform looks like. Actually, normally when you first get into it, it looks like this. We normally start off with a 2x2 of tickers so that you can have a few of them up. And in fact, we allow you to open up about 10 windows total. So you could do 2 sets of 2x2s, and then you could also just pop out individual windows or put them wherever you want. But you can have about 10 charts open at the same time. And then you can set them between the different time frames. We have a couple of little drawing tools. So if you want to draw, trend lines or that sort of thing into it, typical chart stuff where you could change some colors around, change thickness of lines, that usual type of stuff. But if I want to sort of chart out a trend line of something, I can just draw a line in. So a couple of basic tools around that stuff available. We tried to stick to anything that was that was specific to our stuff, because obviously everyone has other charting platforms that you're using that have an abundance of these tools. So we didn't want to duplicate efforts. So it was any tools that were useful for the charts that we're providing at this point. So along with the charts, we've also got, like I said, we've got our dark pool data. But also I can go right into the charts and I can say, show all the block trade information right on the charts. Now, some of these have much more block trades than others. I've got a bunch of weird tickers up right now. Are the block trades completed trades? And if the market maker cannot do large trades without affecting how the price be accurate, affecting the market? Not sure I totally understand the question, but block trades are completed trades, yes. And when I was saying that the market makers can't do large trades without affecting the price, that's why they do things slowly over a period of time, which is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for them to slowly enter into positions so that they're not affecting the market too much until they get their position filled. And that's really the beauty of the tool that we've got here.
Hey, just to kind of touch on what the question they were asking about. I did answer it, but they said, are the block trades completed trades? And if the market makers cannot do large trades without affecting, how can price be accurate? So some of those trades, they don't get completely filled. Now we will get all of that information immediately because we know what the order is. So you'll see when those block trades come up, you will see price kind of either hanging out at that area to complete the fill, or it'll pop off of it, come back down, and then finish the fill, and the move will continue in the direction that they had originally wanted it to go. So I'm just trying to answer that question. So I hope that kind of covers it for you.
Thanks, Bruce. That's Bruce, everybody. So Jim was saying, talk about the divergence on the ALXN chart. Now, I don't know anything about ALXN at all. It just happened to be one of the ones that came up in our scans that I was talking about earlier today. And so I know, because it came up in a scan, that it is approaching a fairly major support area. And so what we're seeing is that everything was kind of moving along together, excuse me, through this period right here. This is, let me zoom in just a little bit. So we're talking around August 10th. Everything was all hunky-dory moving together. And somewhere in this area, all of a sudden the algo started going up as the price was coming down. So even though this is coming down, we're expecting that this price is going to start coming back up in the relative near future as we get into a support area, and then it turns around. Now, you would still, the same practice you would normally use for any swing trade, whatever system or strategy you have for that, you would still want to apply, not imply, because you still want you still want to trade within the comfort of a strategy that you're familiar with. And that's the beauty of this, is that everything we're doing with the flow index works with it, whatever strategy you are currently using. It just increases the probabilities of the trades that you're taking, because you have this extra piece that's really helping you, one, prepare for the trade before you actually take it, so that you know that it's coming. And two, it confirms that it is a trade that's going to be successful. Really, really increases that probability. When you see a large amount of block trades close to each other, like on the chart you just had up, should you be more cautious? I don't know if cautious is the right word, but you should definitely be paying a lot more attention there. There's obviously something going on if you see a lot of block trades in the same area.
So just to kind of, so for those that don't know, I'm Bruce, and block trades and dark pool trades are kind of the thing that I follow the most. I would say it's my niche. So to answer your question about, being more cautious in that area, not necessarily, just like Mike kind of said, but at the same time, we're looking at those areas to create support and resistance. And Mike, if you could bring up the slide from, I believe it's Apple, from the slide deck rather.
Oh, from the slide deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Just one second. Let me go back to this. That was one of the divergence plays.
No, it's in the dark pool, or the block trade section
Oh, right.
before the videos.
This one.
There we go. Okay, so with this example specifically, the thing that we do is coupling the flow algo and the block trades together. So at this particular trade, at the time, Apple had never made a high that it had made that day. This was right after that earnings beat. So the dark pool trade came through, and there was the one at 14.25 for 300,000 shares. Well, we had never seen that price before, regardless if it was a dark pool trade or not. So, and if you're familiar with how dark pool works, then you know that trade probably already came through like the day before. But in this instance, it came through in real time as it happened. So what we do is we couple the flow index with that block trade. And if the flow index is showing that upward momentum, then we're going to look at that block trade as being our support. So if we get in at that area, we just use that area to say, all right, if this doesn't hold up, then we're going to cut it and move on to something else. However, if it holds up, we're staying in it for as long as we possibly can, and so long as the flow index is still confirming the direction and we have targets that we use. I use a lot of Fibonacci. A lot of us use a lot of Fibonacci actually, but using the dark pool trades, you don't have to be cautious of those areas. You just have to know that they're there. So just being aware of those, especially when they're all put together. Like if you look at SPY tracks, if you could pull up SPY real fast.
Live SPY? You mean like the real?
Yeah,
the real
live
chart?
SPY.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to make sure you didn't mean. Yeah.
And then can you turn on the block trades, please?
Or can you on 1 minute or 15?
One's fine.
Okay.
I just want to kind of point out the nuances that you'll see with this. So you can see on the left-hand side, when those block trades come up, it will tell us exactly, what price it came through at and what time and all that. You'll see a lot of them, especially on SPY or QQQ, any of the ETFs, they will line up on each other a lot. And the reason for that is that they're buying these in fractions. So just because we see it coming in at, $338.28, really what they're doing is $338.28, 5 or 3. And there's so many of these programs, especially on these ETFs, that are firing off because of the liquidity that comes with SPY. They're firing these off so much that they're going to stack on top of each other like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, we got to watch out. There's this big block trade that came in from 3 or 4 days ago, or even 2 weeks ago, that we have to watch out for. You just have to be aware that it's there. Thanks, Mike.
No problem. There was one other question about the, I guess Fred sort of answered it. Someone had asked about scans. we do offer some, we do some scanning, and we're not trying to do too much of the heavy lifting for people. So first of all, you can create a watch list where you can go through and have your favorites in here, so you can pull them up at any time. We also do some scans that help with some stuff. Right now, some of it is just things that we wanted up there, but we've branched out. If you use Keltner channels, then we've got data about things that are at the tops and bottoms of Keltner channels, whether they're 4-hour, dailies, weeklies, monthlies. We use these on a regular basis as areas of support and resistance. We're always evaluating this area and looking for extra stuff that we can add there too. But like I said, when you start going through a list of, say, stocks that are at the bottom or the top of, say, a daily Keltner channel, and then you can look at it and say that you've got matching divergence to go with that, then that makes it a much more higher probability that you're going to get rejection at that area of support or resistance. And like I was saying earlier, that's the kind of thing that on the weekends, that's what we do. Can you use candlesticks on your charts? We don't have candlesticks set up. All we've got is the standard bar charts. So you can still see where the price starts and stops. We never intended at this point for this to replace the current charting software that you're using. Right now, it's really meant to be an addition to what you've currently got. Do you have a scanner with Bollinger Bands as well? No, unfortunately not. But honestly, if you're looking for scanning, I always recommend to people use TOS. TOS has an excellent scanner that you could build all this stuff out in, whatever you want to scan for. And then when you've got that short list from your scans, start comparing it to what you're seeing in the Flow algo charts, and that will really help you narrow down that list. And we started doing that process of doing these weekly reviews of these big scan lists. We've been doing that since May, and it has just been it's just been high success rate. And I unfortunately don't have specific stats. When I first started doing it, I was going through all of them, and I was looking at the stats for all of them. And for the first few weeks when I was doing it, we were like at 80% efficiency. But it was a lot of charts to be going through every week, reviewing every possible trade. So I kind of abandoned the process once I knew that things were successful with it. Can you give an example of how you would use FlowTrade to determine when you would enter a trade? Technically, no, because you don't use the flow index itself to determine your entries. You should still be doing that with your standard strategy that you're using, on your regular charts. But what you would do is you pair this with those charts to make that determination. So let me give you an example. If we talked about Keltner channels. So let's say I'm looking at a price that's coming down, a stock that's coming down to the bottom of the Keltner channels, the daily Keltner channels, let's say. As it's approaching the bottom of the daily Keltner channels, I see that I am getting a change. I am starting to see upward divergence with the flow index, where it is starting to come up, even though the price is still going down, heading for that channel. So I would look for a rejection at that channel, or if you're the kind of person that wants to use RSI for confirmation, or whatever other tool, whether you're using cycle tools or momentum tools, MACD, whatever it is that you're going to throw in, whatever it is that at that point tells you that you're set up to go long, the flow index is, first of all, warned you ahead of time to start looking for it to happen. And then it gives you that confirmation when it does happen that that's how you would take that trade. So you're never going to be taking trades just off of what you're seeing in the flow index. You still have to pair it with your regular stuff. Same thing goes for options. You still have to have a knowledge of options if you're playing options, and you need to make those decisions about proper option selection. Even if you've got the most successful strategy in the world, if you don't have good option selection, you're still going to lose money. For people that are playing options, you can use this all for trading common shares as well. Which time frames utilize more for scalping? For the flow index itself, my preference is the 1 minute. We actually offer a 1 minute and a 2 minute. Beyond that, there's a 15 minute. You wouldn't want that for scalping. I like using the 1 minute because it gives me instant feedback. Not that I would trade off the 1 minute because I find that price movement is too volatile. But from the flow algo index, if the market makers are making some changes, I want to start seeing that as soon as possible. Still wait for trend, but I'll look for the start of it on that 1 minute. We don't currently have Forex data available. Matter of fact, we have not even tested with Forex data, so I can't even say whether it would be successful. We have tested it with all kinds of exchange data. We've tested it with futures, so we know it's successful in those areas. I can't speak for Forex. I can't speak for crypto. So this Saturday list, is this shared with FlowTrade members? How is this sent out? Right now, this is just something that I personally do with a group of people that are members that currently use this. As I said, if you join up through FlowTrade, you could do it with us. I'm also talking, if you got this link through an affiliate and you're joining through them, I will be talking to them about doing something similar. So there may be an opportunity to do it with those affiliates as well. I don't want to speak for them without talking to them first. But yeah, essentially what we do is we create this list, we get the bulk list, and then we share it out, and then everyone has access to it. And then they will go through that list and further filter down to stocks that they know, so that they're only trading things they know, cutting out any ones that have major news events like ERs or splits or anything that are coming up that you may want to avoid trading during that period if you don't like risk. Filter it out for liquidity within the options if you're playing options. Lots of other stuff to come down to your own short list. How about other exchanges like TSX? We don't have TSX at this point. The only exchanges we currently do are NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, and ARCA, which is really New York Stock Exchange. They just separate the two. I'm actually in Canada personally, so I wouldn't mind being able to trade some or getting some TSX data on there, but right now not available. Yeah, the scan stuff, I don't want to harp on that too much because it's not part of the service itself. It's just something a group of us get together and decided that it would be very useful for us to do. But like I said, certainly we do it every Saturday morning, and it's either something that if you join directly with us, you could get access to that. As I said, it may be something that the affiliates start to offer, or there's no reason why you can't be doing your own types of scans and reviewing your own type of data in the same way. Or make friends and other FlowTrade members and start creating a group that you do scans with them. I don't know. I'm not your mom. So I think I'm not seeing a whole lot of unanswered questions. I'll just give one last call for them before we finish up for the day here. It is Saturday, and I don't want to eat up too much of everybody's time. Appreciate everybody coming out. Really hope you enjoyed what you saw so far. I missed if index futures such as NQ, ES, and GL are currently available. We don't currently have futures data available. There's still a lot of negotiation and preparation. Like I said, we deal directly with the exchanges themselves. So we need to fill in contracts with those guys. We have a bunch of compliance related development that needs to be done for each exchange that we onboard. And like, this is all done with the SEC in mind. So it's very, very serious stuff. So it's not like a quick thing that we could just turn on and say, hey, we've got futures now, everybody. But it is something that we're building towards in our future.
Hey, Mike, I just want to try and hit, I saw the person asked about the, how is it going to tell them about the entry side of things? Is there any way you could go back to, I think it's like slide number 3?
Sure. Not slide number 3. Or maybe it
Maybe,
was. Or did you mean this one?
no, there's the
Is
the
it
flow
words or
ch-
charts?
the flow chart.
Oh, no, I don't have the flow chart.
Oh, okay. So we use a flow chart in order to talk ourselves out of a trade. One of the things that we make it a real big point is it's really easy for somebody to talk themselves into a trade. But we make it a point to talk ourselves out of a trade because it's so easy just to jump into something. So we utilize a flow chart that we've kind of set up and use as our guide. So we look at, if it's bearish or bullish, depending on the trend for that particular time, and if it's sideways. So if it's sideways, we're trying to stay out of it as much as possible because we want to capture those big moves. If it's bullish, first thing we're doing is we're looking at our setup, and if our setup is warranting that we're at, some sort of support or whatever the case is, then we move to the next side. So that would be the next thing we would look at is if the setup is there, we'd be looking at what the algo is doing. So if the flow index is showing us that, heavy buy side, then that's what we're looking to do off of that support. So we never jump into something in no man's land. It's always, there has to be some sort of support or resistance going through either multi-time frame, just like Mike has been talking about earlier. If you're using Fibonacci, Bollinger Bands, whatever the case is, we have to be at one of those levels in order for us to take a trade. And if it doesn't work out, then we're cutting it for a few pennies versus, there's nothing. The next support I have is $2 away, and now I'm underwater, pretty big on the trade. So we're buying at those major support levels, and then we're verifying on the flow index to make sure that we're still in the right direction on the trade, and that goes for both sides. So if we're on the bearish, we're looking for that major resistance, and if that major resistance doesn't hold, then we're cutting the trade for a few pennies.
Thanks, Bruce. So one of the other questions John was saying, where can I go for tutorials? We actually have a video section that will walk you through a bunch of this stuff, talking about how to use that. Well, there's other things in there as well, but a lot of things about how to read the flow algo index itself, and also some different ways that we use other tools along with it. So there's a whole library of stuff in here. Very, very useful stuff. Also, just because people were asking, this is what the fly on the wall news looks like. So there's a ticker down here at the bottom that shows you current stuff that's coming up. Obviously, it's the weekend, so nothing new is coming up. But let's say I wanted to go in and find out what was going on with Apple. It'll show me the last day or two of information that was going on, and I can get more data by hitting show more over here. If I want to get very specific stuff about, earnings or upgrades and downgrades, whatever it is, they have all that information in there. So it's great to go through. This stuff, and sort of get yourself all prepared before the market opens. No, the tutorial stuff on how to use the flow algo index and stuff, that all comes with the trial membership. I mean, look, let's be perfectly honest. It is in our best interest for you to learn how to use these tools to the best of your ability during your free 1 week of tutorial, because we want you to become a member. But you're not going to become a member if you don't see value in the tool. So we're going to do everything we can to get you set up for success as quickly as possible.
DB's asking, is there dark pools in futures market? So there's not necessarily dark pool in futures, but there are hidden trades. One of our futures trader is Dan, and Dan knows future stuff in and out. When we trade it, it's purely technical. Dan knows everything about everything, and then some more about futures. So, but as far as the dark pool stuff goes, there's the hidden trades, and then there's those areas that it takes 100 contracts for it to break, and we're not just talking about level 2. No, FlowTrade Dan, not Bullish Bears Dan. And maybe Bullish Bears Dan knows a lot about futures. I don't want to take any credit away from him. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much done here. I'm not seeing a whole lot of new questions come in. So just let me thank you all once again. Like I said, if you came here through an affiliate and you would like to take a trial, they have a link for you to get in. If not, then you can just go to flowtrade.com. You could sign up there for a free trial. Fill in all the information. We can have you up and running. There's tutorial information on there. I totally forgot. I totally spaced on what I was about to say after that. But yeah, we can get you up and running. Like I said, we want you to learn this stuff as quickly as possible. If you take the trial, it's in our best interest and in yours. So we want to make you as successful as possible. So thanks everybody. Like I said, if you want to review this video, you can also check our YouTube channel, and let me just switch over to the contact page really quick in case anybody wants. There we go. Yeah, you can check out our YouTube channel, and it will have this whole thing recorded, so you can rewatch any parts that you thought you missed, and get all that information. So thanks everybody. I'll just leave this up for another 20 seconds or so, and then we'll end things off. Thanks for coming.